I saw blood coming down my shoulders, and I was like, oh my God, he just hit me. Ron had finished his shower, came out. He was going to check his email, and I said, well, I'll flip this movie on. And I heard something. I wasn't sure what it was. I thought Ron was asking me something, and the TV had, I just didn't hear exactly what he said. And I remember I looked over at Ron, and there was somebody standing there.
We never heard him come in, and I didn't know he was there until he hit me on the head with a pistol. The hit wasn't so hard that it knocked me to the floor or anything of that nature, but it was enough to get my attention, and I jumped up out of my chair to turn around and see what it was that hit me. And I was confronting a man who was standing behind me who had a pistol pointed at me, and he was wearing a green mask.
Give me your big money. He just kept saying that over and over. And I remembered looking at Ron thinking, oh my God, this is not real.
I was trying to convince him to follow me into the kitchen area, get him away from where my wife was sitting. I got my wallet and took the cash that I had in my wallet out and said, here it is. And I was trying to reach it out and hand it to him. And he just ignored me. He had a length of pipe in one hand and a pistol in the other. I was thinking if I could just get him to set one of those down and take the money, it would kind of relieve some of the tension, or perhaps maybe even I could grab the other, whichever one that he wasn't using. But he kept backing away from me as I was trying to hand him the money. And he backed and he backed up, and he kept that distance between us until he actually got behind the chair where my wife was sitting.
And I remember just keeping my eyes focused on Ron, thinking, it's gonna, if I just watch Ron, it'll be okay.
And without any forewarning, he struck my wife in the head with a pipe.
I felt this, like my head had just got jammed down to my shoulders. And I heard this noise. And I remembered throwing my hands up to my head going, damn, what was that? And then I saw blood coming down my shoulders, and I was like, oh my God, this man just hit me. I'm just sitting here. I'm not trying to get him. He just hit me.
It was just violent rage that went through me. How dare you come into our home and attack us and our sanctuary? But my training as a firefighter and as a paramedic told me I can't express that. I have to keep that part bottled, and I have to approach him in a calmer, saner manner. And I knew that I couldn't help Jill if I lost my temper.
And Ron tried everything. He was like, take the little cash we have. I'll take you to an ATM. We'll clean any account out we have. I think at that point we realized if we would have given him $1 million, he wasn't leaving. He made us go back to our bedroom.
And I thought I saw an opportunity at that time. I had a handgun in my closet. If I could just duck into the closet very quickly, I could have the gun. The only problem at that point is that he had my wife between me and him, marching us down the hallway. And I knew that if I ducked into there, she was going to be vulnerable.
Ron hands him the jewelry box, and he throws it on the bed and starts using the pipe as like a tool to go through my jewelry. I had a necklace in there that my son had made me when he was in like the first grade. He took that. He left silver bracelets, and he takes that. Just stuff that didn't make any sense.
At that point, after he got what he wanted in the jewelry, he said that his hand's getting awfully tired of holding this gun. He may just end up shooting one of us right there. And we told him that, again, there's nothing worth harming someone for in this house. We will give you the whole thing. You can take whatever you want. My wife even offered up our laptop computers and her personal car, which was new. He asked, where are the keys? And she said, the keys are in the car. He goes, I'll take the keys after I kill you. That's when we knew that we were in a no-win situation. There was going to be no talking this man down. He was so resolved in what he was doing. He'd already planned what he was doing to the point that we were not going to walk away from this thing alive. He marched us back into the kitchen, at which point I tried to turn towards the butcher block and get a knife to fight back. He stepped around the corner very quickly with the gun and told me no. I saw him draw back with the pipe. He was coming to hit me with the pipe again. I was able to throw up my left arm to block the blow, and it broke my arm. I could feel the arm break. As soon as I jerked my arm back down, he drew back again, and before I could even get my arm up again, he hit me across the side of the head with the pipe. And this time he broke my jaw in 2 places and shattered my teeth, and I was losing my balance.
Only thing you could see on Ron were his eyes, because everything else was bloody. I'm talking from his head to his toes. He was covered in blood. And he hit the floor, and he's crawling to get back up again. I had a clay pot on the mantel. I just picked it up and I flung it.
It was the only time in the entire incident that he ever took his eyes off of me, and he threw his hands up to protect himself.
And I ran toward him. I ducked my head down thinking, well, if he shoots, maybe he'll shoot over me, and I ran toward him. Ron, on the other hand, I don't know how he did it, came over the couch, around the couch, but he hit him about the same time I did, and we all went sailing.
I took his gun away from him, and at that point he broke away from me a little bit and rolled over onto his stomach and started to try to crawl and get back up. And I jumped onto his back and was hanging onto his shirt, and I had his pistol in my hand and him by the shirt, and I actually put the gun to his head, said a quick prayer, forgive me, and pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. The gun didn't go off, and I was so shocked that he had been able to hold me at bay this long with a gun that didn't have a bullet in it, and to take such a beating.
And Ron's hollering, get a knife, we gotta slow him down, because I can't hold him much longer. So I ran in the kitchen, got the knife out of our butcher block, and Ron's like, just get him in the legs. Get him in the legs as best you can. I kept thinking, it's hard to get the knife to go down into his leg. And I remembered at one time I had to use both my hands to push it down to go through his leg. I remembered where my cell phone went flying, so I grabbed it.
911.
We're being robbed. I've got a guy by a knife.
And it's a robbery in progress.
We have got the guy down. I have stabbed him several times. Hurry up.
Is he unconscious?
No, ma'am. We're just holding him down. Please, 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 God, hurry.
Don't try to injure him any further. Just try and keep him. But yeah, don't use any more weapons.
And I hear the sheriff say he's dead.
No, he was just talking just a second ago. He just told me he had AIDS. He's not dead. He's not dead. Check him again. I said, no, he's dead.
I couldn't understand. How could he be dead?
We survived because we were able to take it one step at a time in the situation. We didn't let our emotions run away from us. We focused on the task at hand and went one step at a time.